My video just stopped, so I have to continue now. So, if God created this world, being that powerful, that means that He wanted to do it. And if He wanted to do it, I as a human being, I need to have an understanding why there is so much suffering. So, how did people react to this problem? If I want to reject the argument, what can I say? Well, first of all, of course, what I mentioned before, that we need evil in order to understand the good. People who will defend the argument will say, oh, yeah, sure, I grant you that, but so much evil? Then people will say, well, we need evil in order for God to have a meaningful relationship with human beings. Human beings need to love God in their pain and suffering, and without that, they will not be able to do it. And people will say, yeah, wait a moment, why? Again, so much suffering? And then people will say again, yes, okay, so maybe you say there's so much suffering. But think about the fact that God cannot create a world in which there are only good things, in which human beings choose God willingly all the time. God has to allow human beings to choose evil too, and by allowing them to do so, because He gives them free will, evil comes into the world. So God has not created this world, but rather we have brought evil into the world. People who will defend the argument will come back and say, wait a moment, God is all-knowing. If God is all-knowing, the moment in which He creates the world, God knows that children will die of cancer. God also knows that there will be a Holocaust. God also knows that there will be Stalin and the communist prisons, if you're not familiar with that. I kind of am, because I'm coming from that part of the world. But other leaders who are responsible for the death of millions and millions of people. Would you create such a world? Would you create a world in which a 2-year-old dies of leukemia? For what? They will say. How can you understand? Okay, so anyway, I'm not trying to say one side or the other. I'm just trying to show to you that both of those camps go, and they are trying to, against one another, to try to find out whether the argument works or not. There is one other way to look at to reject the argument, and this comes from theology, and I will tell you this this way, and then I will end the video. There's a theological perspective, forgive me, that says, yeah, you're right. This argument works. I have nothing to say against this argument. I cannot explain evil. The moment in which I explain evil, I am doing a disservice to God. Because I cannot ever say that evil is justifiable. If I say evil is justifiable, I implicitly claim that something like the Holocaust has been for something good, which is crazy. If I say that evil is justifiable, I will say that the death of a child who dies because a drunk driver goes over him or her is justifiable because some good coming out of it. What good can there be? By the way, I know of a priest, and the priest has lost his granddaughter because of a drunk driver incident. And he told me and others, it wasn't just to me, the conversation, that, at the funeral, there was a lady who came to him and said, oh, Father, it's okay. God has another angel for Himself now. And the priest, remember, a priest, someone who believes in God, said, I wanted to strangle that woman. How can she even say that to me? That God needs another angel. Why didn't He allow me to have my angel? He has all those angels. Why does He need my angel? And when I mentioned this to show you, that the problem of evil, the argument itself, does not need explanation. And from the same theological perspective that I mentioned, which, by the way, this priest was coming from the same view, it says, the only way in which I can respond to the problem of evil is this: love. What? What do you mean by love? How can you talk about love when we just talked about suffering, about the pain, about death, about millions and millions of people dying? And the answer is this. In order for you to embrace somebody, so to express your own love, what do you need to do? Well, open my arms, right? Because I cannot embrace somebody before I open my arms. And if I have to embrace the whole humanity or many, many people, what do I have to do? Well, I have to open them more and more and more. Okay, let me go further so you can see. And what happens if I open my arms? It's this. So it's the image of the cross, of course. It is an answer that comes from Christianity, which says that the problem of evil, the response to the problem of evil, is the cross. And is that God is already in suffering for his creation. That God has been on the cross from the beginning of the earth. And when I say that, you have to be aware of a theological view about this, and that is that the Son, so Jesus, even if of course historically he has been on the cross in a certain moment in time, has been from the beginning the Lamb of God, and the Lamb of God is the crucified. So anyway, this is another problem, of course, that comes from Descartes, the problem of evil. A quite interesting problem, I think, at least. And feel free to discuss your views on this for this week. Take care.